The Pocket 3 has several gimbal modes: follow mode, tilt locked, FPV, FPV inverted, full lock, and Inception mode. Understanding these modes and how to get the best out of them will help the speed and quality of your filming and storytelling, because you'll be able to create the right visuals to illustrate your vision. And first up is the follow mode. And this is probably the mode that many people will default to. In follow mode, the gimbal keeps the horizon level but gives you smooth up and down tilted movement as you move or point the gimbal up or down in the direction you want it to focus on. If you tilt the camera up or down, it will follow the motion, but you don't need to worry about the roll axis because it's stabilized for you. This mode is good when you might be doing some creative shots where you start the shot pointing up or down to introduce or reveal a location or a character. This is also a good gimbal mode for getting close-up shots, because you'll be able to quickly frame your shot and then move away from it if you need to add some movement or motion to the shot. For example, if you're filming someone walking down some stairs, let's say entering the underground or the metro, where you want to film them as they go down, and then as they get to the bottom, follow them as they walk away. Using the Pocket 3 in follow mode will help you angle down the camera as the person is going down the stairs, and then easily tilt up to frame them correctly as they walk without having to use the joystick to correct the orientation or the framing. The next mode is tilt lock, and this is the gimbal mode that I default to with my Pocket 3. And as the name suggests, this mode locks the tilt axis of the gimbal. What this means is that the camera won't tilt up or down regardless of whether you move or angle the Pocket 3 up or down. And this is great for panning shots where you don't want any vertical movement, like when you are filming a landscape or following a moving car, for example. It's also the gimbal mode that you want to be using if you do any creative shots, like reveal shots or G-Bam type of shots, where you start at a low angle, usually behind an object of some sort, and then crane up to introduce or reveal a location or a character. For this type of shots, you can use the Pocket 3 on its own, or if you want a more extreme visual look, you can attach the Pocket 3 to a selfie stick or a monopod and get really high up. This is, in my opinion, a great combination if you want to get street furniture in your shot, like street lamps or specific features of a building. This gimbal mode is great because you can record with the Pocket 3 without having to worry about losing the horizon if you point the camera in an awkward angle. I personally prefer this gimbal mode over the follow mode, especially when I do any kind of vlogging, because I can predict the type of shot that I'm gonna be getting with the horizon level, and I don't need to worry about the gimbal pointing too high up and potentially ruining the framing because my hand is holding the Pocket 3 in a certain angle as I walk and talk. I only use follow mode when I know for sure that I will need that tilting movement, because otherwise I feel it can be distracting. But this is a very personal decision, and by no means I'm suggesting that you do exactly as I do. You might have a different preference or style of filming using a different gimbal mode. And this is just one of over 70 lessons that you can find in my DJI Beginner to Pro course. And I teach you in just 14 days everything that you need to know to create stunning and professional looking videos. And I know that it might sound too good to be true, but if you follow my program, in less than 2 weeks, you're gonna be creating amazing looking videos for your YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, or any social media platform or general content creation. And the best of it is that it's currently on a pre-sale offer that costs less than that gym membership that you never use. So if this is something interesting to you, I would love to see you inside. Click in the link below and I'll see you around. The third gimbal mode is FPV mode, and FPV stands for first person view, and in this mode the gimbal moves exactly as you move the camera. The tilt, pan and roll axes are unlocked, and you can move the gimbal in any direction that you want. This mode is great if you use the Pocket 3 as an action cam, where you want to get a sense of the point of view of the person on the bike, or in any situation where you want to get a sense of what the person is seeing. This is also a good gimbal mode if you want to introduce a sense of disorientation in your shots as you move or follow someone. And always remember that less is more when it comes to using this gimbal mode. just don't overdo it. If you do it too much, it can actually be a bit uncomfortable to watch. On the other hand, this is a very creative mode to use for shots when you know that you're going to be doing a lot of twisting and turning. So for instance, if I was to attach the Pocket 3 to the side of a car or a bicycle, this is the gimbal mode that we usually go for, because as you turn, the gimbal turns with you in a much more natural way, much more similar to how our eyes see the world. The FPV mode will give you that sense of an adrenaline rush to your footage. The Pocket 3 also has the FPV inverted mode, and this is a very interesting mode. In this gimbal mode, you are still in FPV mode, so the tilt, roll and pan axes are unlocked, but the camera will point in the same direction that the OLED screen is pointing to. And this is great for close-up shots because you can frame and reframe very quickly. Because the lens will always point to where the OLED screen is pointing to, you can move very quickly from one point to another. It's not going to give you the handheld look because the gimbal is still engaged, but for close-ups, I find it to be the best mode because you're not having to wait for the gimbal to catch up with your movement. And one great thing about this gimbal mode over the follow mode is that if you double tap the joystick to reset the shot, it will reset the shot to where the OLED screen is pointing to. Whereas on the other hand, the follow mode, it resets to the horizontal plane, and then you have to use the joystick to get the lens in the right place, and that can be a bit of a pain. Now the lock mode, and this is not a gimbal mode in itself, it's more of a feature that the Pocket 3 gives you rather than a dedicated gimbal mode that you can set. And in this mode, the camera position stays completely locked to where the camera was originally pointing to. Regardless of how much you move, you tilt up or down or turn the Pocket 3, the gimbal is locked to that position and it won't follow any movement. And to engage it, all you need to do is just press and hold the joystick down. And unfortunately, this is not a dedicated locking mode as you have on traditional gimbals. This mode is perfect for shots when you need absolute stability, where you don't want to introduce any sideways or tilting movement, and you just want the shot to be straight. And this is also a great option for handheld side review shots or grenade type of shots, because the gimbal locks onto the end frame position, and when you do the move, there are no other micro moves that can be distracting to the viewer. When I use a monopod or selfie stick to do crane up type of shots, I always prefer to use the lock mode so that the gimbal doesn't introduce any tilt or pan movement when I do the move. And this is something that happens a lot actually on this type of shots, especially if you crane up and you have the camera 6 or 7 feet up on a pole. But because this is not a mode in itself on the Pocket 3 and you can only engage it by holding and pressing down the joystick, it's impossible to do unless you find a way to clamp the joystick somehow, maybe using a small rubber band or something similar. And the last one is the Inception mode or a spin mode. And this is the one gimbal mode that looks great in marketing and promotional material, but you'll probably hardly ever gonna use. In this mode, the gimbal rotates the camera on itself, giving you a very unique effect, and you can select the spinning range up to 360 degrees. This mode is great for adding drama or disorientation to a shot or a scene. You can introduce a location or a character in a different angle. It could also be used to recreate a disorientating dream. This is a mode that many people will actually never use, but if you use it, just don't overdo it, because if you use it too many times or in too many shots, it can give a bit of a headache to your audience. But for the odd shot here and there, it can actually be a really interesting and creative option. Just bear in mind that you can't switch modes halfway through a shot. So make sure that you select the right mode for what it is that you're trying to film. And take the time to experiment and see how each mode affects the mood and feel of your footage. I'm sure there are many different ways to use this gimbal and camera because we all work differently and we all film and record so many different things. Just don't overuse the fancy modes like the spin or Inception mode. Less is more when it comes to this type of shots. The problem with trying to learn all of this on YouTube is that it's disorganized. It can get repetitive, and don't get me wrong, it's possible, but it's gonna take a long time to do it. In 2 weeks, you're gonna be creating amazing looking videos for your YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, or general content creation. So if this is something interesting to you, I would love to see you inside. Click in the link below and I'll see you around.